Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the WAPC meeting of Wednesday, the 25th of March, 2026. I'd like to welcome to all of you who are attending in person today as well as online. This meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and available for viewing via the Commission website, and Commission members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in their deliberations. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're meeting on the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and pay our respects to elders past and present. Apologies and leave of absence today. We have Commissioner Lakey on a leave of absence and Commissioner Shears is an apology. We do have Commissioner Bennett attending online, but will be joining us in person from around 10:30 a.m. today. All other members are attending in person. Thank you for being here. Disclosures of interest. We do have a few to work through today. In relation to item 3.1, the district structure plan for North Ellenbrook East, approval to advertise the draft, Commissioner Adair has declared a perceived impartiality interest in that her previous employer, Satterley Property Group, is a major developer in the subject land, and in her role at the time, she was directly involved in the acquisition and development planning for this land. And Commissioner Adair has not been involved since leaving Satterley, but would like to step out on this matter. Thank you. In relation to item 3.1, the district structure plan again for North Ellenbrook East, Bennett has declared a direct pecuniary interest in that Commissioner Bennett's employer CLE is the proponent of the DSP amendment, and I understand you'll be stepping out on this matter. Thank you very much. On the same item, Commissioner Sandry has declared a perceived impartiality interest in that Commissioner Sandry's employer owns 848 Cooper Road, Bullsbrook, 916 Cooper Road, and is under contract for 927 Cooper Road. And these properties are not within or adjoining the proposed MRS amendment, but are nearby. And I understand that your own partiality members, I'm happy to accept it on that basis if you are. It's not proximity interest. Thank you. On item 3.3, the MRS amendment for Jandakot Road in Treby, approval to advertise. Commissioner Bennett has declared a direct pecuniary interest in that her employer CLE act for the proponents on other projects. Commissioner Bennett, say an indirect pecuniary interest on that one? I understand you'll still step out on that item? Thank you. On item 4.1, the MRS amendment for Morella Road in Bullsbrook, Commissioner Bennett has declared a direct pecuniary interest in that Commissioner Bennett's, sorry, again, I think this should be an indirect pecuniary interest in that CLE act for the proponents on other projects. Are you happy with that as an indirect pecuniary?
Yes.
Happy to step out on that also?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. On item 4.4, I do have 5 declarations on this item. This is the Metropolitan Region Scheme Transition of District Structure Plans. The first is from Commissioner Adair, a perceived impartiality interest linked to the Alkimos Eglinton DSP, and that Commissioner Adair has advised that she was involved in the original Alkimos Eglinton DSP, which ended 21. Commission members, I'm happy to accept that as an impartiality interest unless there's any reason not to. Thank you. On the same item, Commissioner Bennett has declared a direct pecuniary interest across all DSPs in that Commissioner Bennett's employer is DSPs.
Yes.
I'm happy to step out.
Yes.
Thank you. On the same item, Commissioner Brooks has declared a direct pecuniary interest in that Commissioner Brooks' employer Backwat is involved on the following DSPs: Alkimos Eglinton, Mundajong, and Byford. And I understand you're happy to step out on that item. Thank you very much, Commissioner Brooks. On the same item, Commissioner Hall has declared a perceived impartiality interest on the Alkimos Eglinton DSP and Manship DSP. I understand the nature of that interest is that whilst you're employed by the City of Wanneroo, you did work on those DSPs as in your role as Coordinator of Strategic Planning, but that was between 2009 and 2015, some 10 years ago. So on that basis, I'm happy to accept that as an impartiality interest if others also are. Thank you. And again, on that same item, Commissioner Sandry has declared that She did work on the Byford Mundjong DSP at the time of being an employee at the Shire Serpentine Jarrahdale, but that was also some 10 years ago. And on that basis, also happy to accept that as impartiality all members are. Thank you. Getting down to the last two now on item 4.6, guidance for environmental advice on district structure plans. Commissioner Bennett has declared a perceived impartiality interest in that Commissioner Bennett is a member of the EPA who have previously considered this item. Given that these are joint guidelines between us, I'm more than happy to accept that as perceived impartiality if all members are so. Yes, thank you. And lastly, item 4.8, information report for the WAPC. Commissioner Bennett has declared a direct pecuniary interest in that Commissioner Bennett and CLE are involved in projects contained in this report. And Commissioner Bennett, are you happy to step out on that item?
Yes, as necessary. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, are there any other declarations of interest? Thank you very much. Disclosures of representation. I have one in relation to item 4.2, the potential MRS amendment for the Salvation Army Seaforth Gardens pre-lodgement advice. I have met with the proponents and consultants on this item in the normal course of my duties as chair and have not been provided with any additional information that's not for commission members today. Members, are there any other disclosures of representation? Thank you very much. Item 1.5, declaration of due consideration. Can all members indicate that they have received and considered the agenda ahead of today's meeting? Commissioner Sandry?
Sorry.
Thank you. Additional information for members, just noting that there is additional information provided in the agenda. And item 1.6, confirmation of previous minutes of Wednesday, the 25th of February, 2026. Are there any issues to raise with the minutes? No, thank you. Could I have a mover and seconder then? Thank you, Commissioner Hall and Commissioner Adair moving and seconding. Any dissent? Thank you. The minutes are carried. We will now go to deputations and I'll hand over to Sam. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning to everyone that is attending the meeting to provide a deputation to the Western Australian Planning Commission this morning, either in person or via Zoom. You will be invited to join the table or promoted to a panelist via Zoom to do your deputation this morning. You have been advised of your allocated time, which will be managed by a timer which will appear on the screen. If you do have a PowerPoint presentation this morning, this will be displayed on the screen throughout your deputation and you're requested to advise as you wish the slides to be advanced. Moving to the first deputation on the agenda this morning on item 3.1 on the agenda, which is the District Structure Plan for North Ellenbrook East, approval to advertise draft amendment number 1. We're welcoming Alex Jarvis and Daniel Martinovich. Person this morning would like to join us at the table. Over to you when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we've just got one slide. Flick to that. That would be great. And thank you, Chair and Commission, for the opportunity to present today. I'm Alex Jarvis from CLE Town Planning, and this is my colleague Daniel Martinovich. We just wish to speak briefly in support of the officer recommendation to advertise amendment number 1 to the North Ellenbrook East DSP. This amendment has been progressed specifically to address the EPA's advice on the corresponding MRS amendment number 1411 applicable to the site, which was considered by the WAPC last month. In providing its advice, the EPA was satisfied with the environmental outcomes of the project, subject to the amendments you are considering today being incorporated into the DSP. The amendment will therefore ensure that the key environmental values identified through the EPA's review are appropriately integrated within the DSP framework. The amendment achieves this through updates to the DSP map, along with supporting textual provisions, ensuring these environmental outcomes are implemented at subsequent stages of the planning process. Progression of the DSP amendment alongside the MRS amendment represent key milestones in advancing the planning for this precinct and will ultimately help to facilitate timely preparation of future local structure plans. So we've just prepared a comparison slide just for the Commission's benefit. That just shows the approved DSP map on the left alongside the proposed DSP map. We don't intend to speak to this in any detail, and at this point, Chair, we'll welcome any questions, and otherwise we'd appreciate the Commission's support to advertise the DSP amendment.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Daniel. Members, are there any questions? Right, we have no questions for you today. Thank you for your deputation.
Thank you very much.
Next deputation this morning is on items 3.2 on the agenda, which is the MRS amendment for North Urban Precinct, the approval to advertise, and we're welcoming Rebecca Thompson and Mitch Whalen in person this morning. Get your presentation loaded. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We can just jump to the next slide. We're here to affirm our support for the officer's recommendation for approval to advertise the MRS amendment for Bullsbrook North Urban Precinct, and to answer any questions that you may have. There's a long history of planning over this land, and we're very keen to see the zoning progress to allow this project to advance to the next stages. The Commission has actually previously initiated and supported rezoning of this land a few years back, but that was ultimately not approved by the Minister on the basis there was not a need for additional urban land at that time. As we all know, that's not the current circumstances, and so it's now very appropriate for this land to be rezoned. On that basis, we're supportive of the officer's recommendation, and understanding the ultimate intent is for the land to be zoned urban upon the resolution of the servicing for the site. If we could please just go to the next slide. The district structure plan pertaining to the amendment area and surrounds was approved subject to modifications in December last year. The modified documentation is now with the department for final review and endorsement. I just wanted to note that the version of the DSP that's in the agenda report is actually not the correct version of the plan, and the one on the screen is the current version being reviewed for sign-off. Through the district structure plan process, a majority of the queries that were raised by the agency through the preliminary referral process on the MRS amendment have actually now been resolved through that DSP process, noting that the amendment was lodged and referred out prior to the district structure plan being resolved. So understanding this, the primary outstanding matter for the urban zoning of the land is relating to servicing primarily for this site is the high level water tank. And as you're aware, the planning for the servicing in this corridor is very well advanced, and it's just pending confirmation of funding. So once the confirmation of the funding, the servicing can be resolved and the urban zoning can be progressed over this site. Next slide, please. Just to note, the MRS amendment proposal is only a portion of the district structure plan area. We're currently looking at refinements to the plan, and we'll probably be looking to lodge a request for a concurrent local structure plan. We're just working through refinements to the plan to address some APA considerations regarding tree retention and the like. So that's really it. If you had any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and thanks, Mitch. Members, are there any questions? Please go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Adair.
Just can you clarify what you were saying about the correct version of the district structure plan?
Oh, so if you wanted to go back, the version of the district structure plan that's shown in the agenda report is actually a superseded version. It doesn't show the final approved plan.
I can maybe into that. The one that's currently put forward, the Commission has 3 primary schools, whereas the one in the agenda has 2 primary schools. And the location of the district centre has also changed. That came about in consultation with the officers from the department.
Yeah, I don't think it's material to the MRS amendment proposal. It's just the version that's shown on the screen, which is the current version that's been reviewed, does show some of the resolutions that came through the DSP process, which were raised through the preliminary referrals on the MRS amendment. So it's just showing the result.
Thank you for raising that. We'll talk to the officers about that when we come to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Rebecca, I did miss the first minute of your presentation. So do you feel that you've resolved all of the issues that would not need to be addressed for this rezoning, other than the water and wastewater?
Yes, and there's the EPA questions around tree retention, which we're still working through as well.
Could be that's the sort of thing that's worked through
Yeah.
stages, is it not?
Yeah, it's really servicing the key.
Yeah, so even if it were to be progressed to urban, you should be able to develop it without that anyway, would you? Correct. It's just a matter of timing.
Correct, yes.
Any further questions? Yes, Commissioner Sandry.
Thank you. And just with respect to its proximity to the RAAF space, and just a commentary back from the Department of Defence regarding that. And obviously that's something that you'll work through in proceeding stages anyway. But do you have any initial comments around what impacts that may have on the proposed urban? Obviously going urban deferred, but you're intending to go urban.
Yeah, so the comments on regarding the base were in relation to a portion of the land which is in their safety zone. That has actually been excluded. We excluded from the district structure plan, and it's not part of this MOS amendment. So we sit outside that initial area, and then there may still be some noise impacts that we may have to address, but that's a detail that we'll work through at structure plan stage.
And through the chair, has there been in terms of any water quality assessment given proximity to the base at all or anything?
There's an approved district water management strategy.
There is, and there's groundwater monitoring going on at the moment. Well, the water in this particular area is very deep. So I think there'll be, I don't think it's going to be an issue here.
Any further questions? Mr. Hall, you wish to ask a question?
Thanks, Chair. You mentioned funding. Can you just clarify, are you seeking to fund the infrastructure, or what's the arrangement that you're looking at to fund infrastructure?
It's just the state government funding on the infrastructure in this corridor, generally the wastewater infrastructure, the power infrastructure, and for the high water tank. So I understand that's a broader issue for the whole corridor, as that's what we're referring to.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you very much for your deputation.
Thank you.
The deputation this morning is on item 3.3 on the agenda, which is the MRS for part of lot 130 Jandakot Road Treaty, and we're Hunter. Bennett, you've got a recuse on this item, so you'll leave the meeting.
Yes, will you put me in the waiting room or should I leave the call?
You could leave and then I'll invite you to rejoin. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Over to you when you're ready. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. With me is Ryan Hunter from Parcel Property. He's happy to answer any questions when we finish. We're here to speak in support of the recommendation as outlined in the officer's report. Next slide, please. Lot 5130 is located centrally within the Jandakot Treaty District Structure Plan area. You can see the extent of it there in red, and as a result, really well located to Coburn Centre and the station. Next slide, please. We're seeking your support to the MRS amendments initiation as outlined. The report acknowledges the site's been quarried for many years and has more in common in many ways with the land to the south of Jandakot Road than it does to the rural residential properties you can see surrounding it that form part of the DSP. Next slide, please. This proposal's been going for many, many years. It was first lodged in 2017 and on numerous occasions as the framework has evolved and this property's moved from planning investigation area to urban expansion area. Importantly, was part of the advertised DSP last year, identifying it for residential. And obviously we're now before you in March 26. Next slide, please. So that's the advertised DSP. The amendment's consistent with that DSP. That's now under final assessment with the department for reporting to you for final approval. Next slide, please. The DSP, when advertised, included this plan, which identified a range of wetlands and vegetation that needed further investigation. The subject site's not affected by those. Next slide, please. And the land's identified within the district structure plan as being part of the noted first stage. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, and I apologise for the typo on the left, the land's been quarried for many years, and the proposed negotiated planning outcome on the Bush Forever extent really reflects that. Next slide, please. And that's reflected in the plan you see there at MRS. Next slide, please. And therefore in the concept itself. So the concept's providing for about 28.5 hectares of urban deferred land with the opportunity to CEDA rationalise 13.25 hectares of Bush Forever land. Next slide, please. There's a range of comments on the MRS amendment that tie to the DSP, both through the DSP process and the fact that we're going to urban deferred, or we're seeking to go to urban deferred, I should say. There's some prerequisites that allow us to address those through that process. Next slide. So lastly, proposals consistent with a framework and advertised DSP. It provides the opportunity to bring on about 400 homes, and we seek your support today to initiate the MRAP.
Thank you very much, Rod and Ryan. Appreciate your deputation today. Do you have any questions at this point? Thank you. We might call you back for other matters. Thank you.
The next deputation this morning is on item 4.1 on the MRS Amendment 1435 at part of lot 5892 Morella Road, Openbrook, and we're welcoming Ian Humphrey from the City of Swan via Zoom this morning. Ian, welcome to the WA Planning Commission meeting this morning. Over to you when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to make a deputation on MRS Amendment 1435 this morning from Morella Road in Openbrook. Due to the confidential nature of the report, we're not really sure whether the decision of the City of Swan Council meeting on the 13th of August has been included and sort of what was provided as part of that. We've assumed that it has, but we wish to take the opportunity to reiterate the Council's objection to the proposal and provide a summary of the rationale for that decision. Council has expressed an intent to retain Banksia woodlands as a matter of national environmental significance. The woodlands provide habitat and food for critically endangered species, including honeybee cockatoos. 30+ hectares of Banksia woodland outside of the current mining proposal has not been clarified, and there has been no environmental assessment provided for black cockatoo habitat over the remaining Banksia woodland within the mining tenement. I thank again for the opportunity to make the deputation, and happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you very much, Ian. It's Emma Cole, Chair, speaking to you now. Members, do you have any questions for Ian? Go ahead, Commissioner Herron.
Yeah, thank you very much for your deputation. And point taken in terms of Cuddie cockatoo habitat. You would acknowledge, however, that there is obviously a process whereby any clearing has to go through an assessment, and that there is an independent environmental assessment process required?
Yes, yes. And Council have been made aware of that process.
Okay, thank you. Further to that, apart from the habitat issue, are there any, I suppose, land use planning particular concerns or issues that the city holds?
I guess I can only comment on the position of council. That is the direction that I've been given, and obviously that's the direction from my council that I have to develop. What I can say is that the the reasons provided were of an environmental nature, rather than of a land use nature.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Anything further for Ian? Thank you for joining us, Ian.
Thank you.
The next deputation this morning is on item 4.1 window, which is the MRF 435 for part lot 5892 Morella Rose, Bullsbrook, and we're welcoming Damien Shepherd, Cole Dutton, Barry, Cassia Betka, and Candice Lee.
Just before, I think I inadvertently missed 4.1 in my declaration of interest. The Cooper Road properties that stands with the site. Well, it relates to 3.1 and 4.
Okay, so this is the commission, just to be clear, the declaration that Commissioner Sandry made in relation to
3.1.
3.1 stands for 4.1 also. Same both.
Yeah.
We'll take
I
that as
just checked. Sorry.
Thank you for the clarification. Welcome, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and Commission members, and thanks for the opportunity to make this deputation this morning. So Damien Shepherd and Tom Barry from Stockland and Cassia Betka from CDP. We're supportive of the rezoning of the land to urban deferred. Preferably we would have seen go straight to urban. I understand the intent is for that to occur across a number of fronts in North Bolingbrook towards the middle of this year once funding for service infrastructure is resolved. I think you're all pretty familiar with Stockland by now. We've been here a number of times over recent years, involved in a whole range of projects in these new growth corridors. We're really proud of the work that we do in these areas, unlocking much needed housing supply. A key differentiator for us is our ability to move at scale and quickly. And I think you'll see that in East Wanneroo, where we've already sold over 120 lots and we're about to title the first 2 stages in there. And that's well in advance, probably 6 to 12 months ahead of our kind of peer set in East Wanneroo. And then similarly in Northeast Baldivis, where we've already spent over $20 million just on enabling forward earthworks. We've been involved in this particular site since 2021, when we entered into a partnership with the existing owners, the Stefanelli and Brakovich family, over what is kind of a sand mining operation. The planning case for the urbanisation of this land is quite clear, we believe, and that was recognised in 2024 when the amendment to the North Ellenbrook West DSP was approved to include this land. We all know kind of the housing supply crisis. The majority of the site will be cleared of vegetation to facilitate the approved sand mining operation. Land immediately to the north and northeast has already been strategically endorsed for development by approved district structure plans and MRS amendments, which have been considered by the Commission recently. And there's significant infrastructure and investment planned for the area, including the new freeway interchange at the Tonkin Highway, which we are one of the developers committed to supporting the upfront funding of that to enable as needed. We note the criteria to be addressed to progress the lifting of urban deferment and are committed to working with all stakeholders to address that. In regard to the implementation and staging of development, it's always been acknowledged that sequential of land use at this site will need to occur in response to the progression of the sand mining. This is provided for by SPP 2.4, and we're committed to continuing to address the details of this as we progress through the subsequent layers of the planning approvals. Our intention is to lodge a local structure plan as soon as possible, with the end goal of being able to create first lot titles in line with when the freeway interchange opens, sometimes between December 27 and March 28 as currently programmed. But other than that, thank you for your time, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Damien, and thank you to Cassia and Tom for joining you. I just wondered if you wanted an opportunity to talk about the transitional arrangements as you move through the sand mining and what that sort of time frame looks like.
Yeah, sure. So probably over half of the site maybe is already cleared for sand mining, and there's another kind of tranche of that the sand miners are about to launch into very quickly. And as you can imagine, with the heightened kind of levels of demand in urban development at the moment, the sand that is there is being kind of utilised quite quickly. So I think there's probably maybe 3 to 5 years, depends how things play out. And I think as the rate of uptake of that sand will only increase as urban development kind of opens up in this area, including the new kind of interchange. There'll be more, and it makes perfect sense with kind of the sand in close proximity. So we expect that will trade through pretty quickly. And there's plenty of room up on there being such a large site for us to kind of start on the eastern edge, which has already been mined, and then transition towards the west with appropriate kind of buffers and setbacks and bunds and anything else of the like that is required.
Thank you very much. Any idea on that start date on the Eastern Edge at this point?
So our goal at the moment is to create first titles when they need to change is open, so December 27, March 28.
Thank you. Members, questions? Commissioner Sandry?
Thank you. You just had mentioned earlier in the deputation that ideally you would go straight to urban instead of urban deferred. Do you see that the process going to urban deferred now as opposed to urban actually delays your program, given where the sand mine's at and going through the local structure plan phase?
Not so long as we can lodge a local structure plan immediately.
Thank you. Oh, and sorry, one other question. How many lots do you predict that you could cater on the site whilst the sand mine is still in operation?
Off the top of my head, I think kind of as at today, there's probably 600 to 700 that have already been cleared.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Damien. Can you just talk me through the environmental assessment that you've been through and what approvals are in place?
So the head of power for the clearing is the mining tenement, and that's over the 120 hectares of the 160 on the site. So that's reflective of the footprint that's been lodged for the MRS amendment. So we've had a number of engagements with the EPA over the past kind of 12, 18 months on this, including a meeting with Anthony Sutton of the board, probably in the last month, including Anthony Mascara. And essentially, as kind of we took out of that meeting, EPA is comfortable to progress without any assessment for any kind of parts of the site that will be cleared for sand mining. Urban development makes it an appropriate sort of sequential land use, so there is no environmental assessments required for that.
Further, so it is, as I understand it, Banksia woodland and Carnaby's habitat. Is there any offsets or management to deal with the habitat loss?
So not as part of the initial MRS amendment. There is a subsequent MRS amendment that will follow for the land outside of the mining tenement. So if you look at the approved district structure plan, there's about 20 hectares of urban development approved under the district structure plan that sits outside of the mining tenement. So there will be offsets, etc., likely required and proposed as part of that MRS amendment.
Commissioner Heron?
Yes, thank you. And perhaps I've talked to the concept plan. I'm assuming that that's just an initial concept that is subject to further development and refinement. Perhaps, Kasi, if you could talk to that.
Yes, it was really just to support the MRS application, but as we gather information from all the stakeholders, which is part of the process, we will be getting much deeper into the design as the time progresses.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you for the deputation today.
The next deputation this morning is on item 4.2 on the agenda for the MRS amendment for the Salvation Army Seaforth Gardens pre-lodgement advice, and we've got Dion White, Darryl Wilson, Warren Palmer and Simon Malabone.
Very much. Straight Dion White, I'm joined by Simon Warren from Salvation Army. Next slide, please. So the process of pre-lodgement is been on over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. Salvation Army have invested significantly, and particularly in environmental studies, supported by volunteer effort in engineering, really unique opportunity in terms of 50+ hectares and single ownership, critical supply, potentially 750 affordable homes, but also I think important in this case, the ownership of the site means that the proceeds are reinvested in the critical support services and infrastructure that Salvation Army provide through the state. Pre-lodgement is a really important step for us, I guess, to then get into the detailed process of rezoning studies needed to support that. So I guess the infill attributes are reasonably self-evident. The 50 hectares sits right on the cusp of the Seaforth station and not too far from Penobscot station. Major frontage to Albany Highway, but also quite close to the Tonkin interchange, so exceptional across town access up to the airport through areas to the south and west. Major services surround the site on all sides, some capacity issues to be worked with. A lot of education, community, retail infrastructure sits in the wider area in terms of existing town sites and regional centres. Next slide. The pre-lodgement process has been a lot of engagement with key agencies, particularly more recently EPA, just to understand the key issues there. say the pre-lodgement requests have been supported by detailed environmental studies that included flora and fauna surveys, 2 years of water monitoring. So we understand from EPA that they're keen to see a very detailed level of concept planning support the formal requests, so that not only the environmental benefits of handing over the Canning River corridor and defining that, but also mitigating issues around existing trees on site. It is a parkland cleared site, but there is fairly significant vegetation within the river corridors and also on the eastern margin. So just making sure those things are optimised and managed. It's really important for us. We certainly want to try and avoid formal assessments, so we'll be working very closely with those agencies on the way through. And then from a servicing point of view, again, there's a lot of major infrastructure around the sites. We understand that water and sewer effectively falls into 2 catchments. There is, from our discussions with Cossels, likely to be immediate access to services, but there is that planning piece that needs to be done in conjunction with Watercorp. The decision around pre-lodgement helps bring Watercorp to the table to initiate that water, but we're confident there's immediate short-term servicing, and whether or not it's a full urban request or a partial urban deferred request, once we've done that homework, we believe it's an issue that can be staged and managed through that process. There's also been a question mark around school catchments, but again, the detailed concept planning and yields and so on will help us resolve exactly what that looks like in terms of our site, but also the planning investigation area to the south, and whether that's a full site, shared site, or otherwise will get managed through that process. Happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. I'll go to members now for any questions. Thank you, Commissioner Herron.
Yeah, thank you very much for the deputation. And a couple of questions. Appreciate in terms of obviously being a single landholding, has there been any initial engagement with adjoining land in terms of opportunities to potentially round out the site?
Been a lot of engagement with both Gosnells and Armidale, not so much the landowners per se. To the north is mainly sort of special residential land, and that's sort of committed to remain that way within the planning strategy for Gosnells. To the south, Armidale themselves own land, and it is in a planning investigation area, but their current draft planning strategy is choosing to leave that as it is. So that's kind of a work in progress. We certainly think that it makes sense that the south does round out and become part of a wider precinct, but I understand the Commission's currently working through that draft in terms of the position for advertising, but it does make sense to us, particularly expand to the south.
Thank you. And through the chair, I mean, one of the key challenges on this particular site will be obviously you have to get a river crossing, some level of bridge across. So when you talk about some of the servicing issues, I'm assuming that that's part of that. And would that be a piece which you would look to have a cost sharing arrangement with? It would be quite an expensive piece of infrastructure, I would imagine.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we're probably roughly 50-50 east and west of that. There is a bridge structure there that's been reasonably
100-year-old bridge, but there is a bridge crossing.
I think
I'm familiar with it. So
cattle trucks, maybe much else, but yeah, certainly we've got to work through all those sort of staging and civil upgrade considerations east to west, and then potentially also if there's expansion to the south, is coordinating what that means for some of the minor tributaries as well.
And through the chair, if I can ask, in terms obviously of concept, and I fully appreciate it's very early, but in terms of the type of density or form that you're actually looking and envisaging for the site, is there anything you're able to enlighten in that regard?
Yeah, look, I think, as a headline target, we've said 750 just on the 15 per hectare basis. We've got broader portions of land, particularly on the west, that are reasonably flat, no vegetation. So I think there's opportunities there against the highway, potentially local commercial, that can be accommodated on site where maybe there's tighter lot sizes. As we move further east, particularly right over to the eastern boundary, there are some reasonably dense areas of vegetation. So we're thinking we might sort of lower end of the density scale, but really targeting the headline target of 750 and having probably quite a broader range than normal. As we're experiencing some of these peri-urban sites, Bushmead we've been heavily involved in, so it's probably a good example of what the outcome might look like on the site.
Great, thank you very much.
Any further questions, Commissioner Hall?
Thanks, Chair. In addition to questions, you've also got some Tonkin Highway, Albany Highway access. So do you think you need the land to the south to be also developed and coordinated to facilitate development of this land?
I don't think it's critical, but we certainly see it as beneficial, and that's something we'll work through. I guess in terms of access, there's a sort of primary access and arrangements onto Albany Highway that main roads are comfortable with. I guess the other key consideration in this patch is the bushfire risk, and we've got the main eastern distributor road, which names escapes me. Connell that runs along our eastern boundary. So in terms of secondary access for fire, not only for residents on this site, but also providing a secondary point of access through our site for residents that sit in that, particularly that semi-rural environment to the northeast is key.
Just a follow-up question, Chair. And are you intending on promptly developing the land, or is this sort of something for the long term?
Oh, look, it's a staged approach for Salvation Army. I mean, it's important for Salvation Army's point of view to sort of maintain control over the process and be involved for as long as possible. So certainly to carry it through the rezoning process. And I guess there's many ways, either through partnership or sale, that might progress in the long term. But that's a sort of 5-year plus horizon. There's existing facilities on site that need to be sensitively managed. So that's a core part of the consideration.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for your deputation. For this agenda, we did not receive any written deputations, so that concludes our deputations for today, and we'll now move to consideration of the non-confidential items, with the first item being item 3.1, District Structure Plan for the North Ellenbrook East, approval to advertise, and we're joined by Andrew Cook, Mitchell Bisbee and Zarina McDonald on this item.
Thank you.
Andrew and Mitch, we had quite a straightforward short deputation on this item with no questions from members. Is there anything that you wish to add to the item before we go to questions?
Not from my perspective, Chair, but I'll just run that by Mitch first.
No.
Okay, members, any questions on item 3.1? Okay, then we can go straight to dealing with the item. If I could please have a mover and seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Commissioner Herron, seconded by Commissioner Hall. Is there any discussion?
Well, I need to say that obviously this is a next step in a staged process. As obviously it is accommodating the feedback that has been provided during the MRS amendment process, which is appropriate, with additional detail to be provided in the local structure plans.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall, any comments? Commissioners, happy to support and endorse this change, and appreciate that you're taking EPA advice into consideration and doing a comprehensive job of it. So thank you. Any further discussion? Any dissent? Thank you. That has carried. We'll move then to item 3.2. Wait for our commissioners to rejoin us.
Thank you.
Anthony will be joining us a lot today. I'm going to Jane to come.
Yes, I've messaged Jane.
Thank you. Okay, we're now at item 3.2, MRS North Bullsbrook Urban Precinct, and we're joined by Anthony Mascara. And is Christine also joining us?
Step down, please.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Well, thank you, Anthony. Anthony, we've had some feedback on the DSP map for this, which would be useful to comment on. We've also had some comments about servicing. Would you like to respond to those before we go to questions?
Chair. So in relation to the district structure plan, the officers that are looking at modifications to the district structure plan provide that they're still considering all the modifications and the updated district structure plan. So we didn't include the latest version of it for that reason, but we understand that the assessment is close to being finalised and that final version of the plan will essentially primarily be endorsed, very similar to what's been shown by the proponents before. So it's just that point of clarification.
Okay.
There was also the question about the environmental considerations of the site, the servicing consideration for the site. We are aware, in fact, the previous MRS amendment over this site had similar issues with servicing, so we solar and power. Particularly, there's a need for a high-level tank site to be located on the Scarp. The City of Swan have been working with opponents at Wood for locating a site for a high-level water tank. That's still in the process. It also needs funding, significant funding, to be able to service that northeastern corridor of the site because of the topography. So that is a major issue, which has been around for a long time, but we understand that if there's funding provided that similar to the other matters in that whole corridor, then that would be a matter that would be addressed after the lifting of urban deferment process has been completed. That's why the recommendation is to go to urban deferred.
Anthony, is it worth also addressing the sequencing that given through the corridor, we do have a number of MRS areas that are urban deferred, including North Ellenbrook, East and West, that are currently tabled in Parliament, and how we're sort of progressing through the corridor?
Yes, so there's a number of MRS amendments. In fact, all the MRS amendments on the agenda today are proposed to urban deferred. And the key theme throughout all of those is the servicing arrangements and funding arrangements that need consideration. Staging and funding and the position in terms of where the first stages start are really important. That is staging and that body of work has been undertaken by the Water Corporation, but also Western Power is still yet working through those staging arrangements, and not all these precincts will be able to be developed all at once. They'll have to be staged in a way that rolls out a sort of an urban front which connects to all these areas. That may be closest to established areas as well, so there may be a need to be closest to established areas where there's access to facilities but also access to the road network. So there's a whole competing range of matters that need to be considered, and this is part of the area. This area here is the very northeastern extremity, pretty much of the MRS, and in what's being shown as urban development. And that was one of the concerns the former minister had when the Commission supported the amendment and recommended it at the time, in that it was very much at the very northeastern extremity of the metropolitan area. That seems to have been addressed now. It is consistent with all the strategic planning, but it is close to a precinct. So compared to some other proposal, it is close to an existing urban precinct.
Thank you. Members, go ahead. Brooks?
Right, clarification in relation to the water tank locations. Is it that there's a number of possible locations and it's yet to be decided which is the most appropriate, or is it that there really is a lack of suitable locations?
I think there are options. It's more to do with the environmental, to be cleared first, in terms of the approvals processes that need to be considered in order to locate an appropriate site, a location for that infrastructure. I think that is the main issue. There's been a lot of work being undertaken behind the scenes, I understand, in relation to that.
I'll go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Anthony, you mentioned around modifying the district structure plan in different versions. Is that being done under delegation? Can you just help me understand what's the status? Just so I know exactly what the status of the district structure plan is.
I think the SPC approved the district structure plan from memory. It's another team, it's not my team that dealt with that, subject to a range of modifications. And so the proponents have undertaken those modifications and the team is now working through those changes. I'm not sure whether that will come back to the SPC. I'm not for ratification.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions, Commissioner Sandry?
Thank you. Just in terms of, just going back to the question around when it goes to urban and the staging of items. So what's the trigger from the department's perspective that would facilitate that transition to urban? Is it when the infrastructure is constructed or when the money is committed?
I think it's the commitment of the funds. So once the funds are committed, we traditionally the MRS zoning can progress. It's a matter of timing and staging and other matters. So the subsequent planning stages can progress. So we wouldn't have to wait until the infrastructure is in place or exactly knowing where it is. All we need is an okay that the funds have been committed and the pre-planning for the infrastructure has been in place. And that has occurred for the majority of this area. That would be the trigger to be able to address. And that's similar to all the precincts that are urban deferred in this locality. That's been the way the Commission's been dealing with these matters for a number of years. Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Heron.
Thank you. And because I obviously on the SPC, I can confirm that yes, the SPC did, and for Commissioner Hall's benefit, the key item from a configuration was the addition of a primary school. But I just wanted to clarify, because there are obviously components contained within, particularly around the reference to a caravan park and the like. Are these items, I'm assuming, that will need to be then resolved as part of future local structure planning elements? Is that
Right, so the appropriate land uses would need to be considered as part of the local structure plan, and if there are existing uses there, that needs to be having regard to, and the potential transition of those land uses at some point would need to be considered as part of the local structure plan, but they are part of that process. Of course, the local structure plan will be advertised, so everyone have an opportunity to comment on that as well.
Okay.
Commissioners, anything further? Okay, thank you very much. We have a recommendation before us. Is there a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Commissioner Hall, seconded by Commissioner Heron. Commissioner Hall, do you wish to speak to the item? Commissioner Heron?
Oh, only to say that I think that clearly, again, there are stages still to progress, but it is appropriate to be taken to that and work through those items of detail as appropriate.
Thank you, Commissioner Adair.
Thanks, Chair. I do want to speak to this item. I'm just out of, it's a slight frustration on my behalf. I do feel that these areas, there's the only reason that we're not doing it is because of funding, etc. And I know that it is the role of the Commission to look at planning matters. However, we can't look at them in isolation. So I understand we're also not here to put pressure on other agencies and on government to spend funds where it's inappropriate. However, every other pointer for this should be that we go straight to urban, because they can't develop it until those are resolved anyway. So we're just putting in an extra layer. It's just a statement more than anything, just an acknowledgement that I do believe that from a planning perspective, we're actually so close to be able to put this to urban. However, there's other complicating factors that I acknowledge is beyond our remit to take it there.
Thank you. Look, I'm happy to comment on that. I think that if you look at what's happening with the tabling of North Ellenbrook, East and West in Parliament, and the time frame that we're setting in terms of looking at lifting of urban deferment, we are looking in corridor at MRS areas that are really linked to the Tonkin interchange. And I think we've heard today from another applicant on another matter about how they intend to, bring forward development as soon as the end of 27, early 28 to meet that delivery of the Tonkin interchange. So I think that where we are looking at lifting, we are really trying to align that with service delivery to facilitate that housing to come on stream with that major infrastructure investment from government. So just in terms of being consistent, I think it would be difficult for us to have MRS amendments currently in Parliament at urban deferred, with us, having that intent to move through the associated conditions attached to that very quickly, but then take a different approach with something that's sitting at the end of that corridor. So I do understand what you're saying, Commissioner Dan. I think there is a major imperative here to shift to urban as quickly as possible. But I think we're really focused on moving through the corridor to align with key infrastructure delivery. Any further comments? Is there any dissent? Thank you very much. That has carried. We are now at item 3.3, MRS Amendment Jandakot Road in Treeby. Commissioner has left the meeting. We have Anthony and Christine attending on this item. Anthony and Christine, we've heard a deputation today. We do have some confidential attachments to this item, and I believe Commission members would like to ask questions on those confidential attachments. So we will have to at some point go into confidential session, but in terms of what has been provided in the non-confidential part of the report, I would just like to see if there's any comments that you wish to make and any questions that can be put in open session.
Nothing much, thank you.
Members, any questions on the non-confidential item subject matter?
Thanks, Chair. I'll just note that there's been, this proposes some change to the Bush Forever area. can you just take us through the process that's informing that?
Yes, so in relation to this proposal, there's a negotiated planning outcome which provides for, it's a nominated site that provides for a negotiation of the existing Bush Forever area. That's in recognition of the existing land uses and the sand mining that's occurred over the site. The two processes are slightly out of sync in terms of the overlay that's been shown and the clearing for sand mining. So that process is the starting point to negotiate an outcome to better facilitate a line in terms of where the urban development will be and where the regional open space and revised Bush Forever would be. And there's a net benefit through our state planning policy process that we need to go through SPP 2.8. And the net benefit in this case, the test has been, yes, there'll be a net reduction in the Bush Forever area that's proposed based on environmental information. But the net gain is that the realigned Bush Forever area, which is significantly more than that's being provided free of cost in exchange for that smaller net loss that's being proposed for the site. So up to 13.25 hectares is to be ceded free of cost. In exchange for that, the remainder of the site, which is subject to sand mining, is proposed to be zoned urban deferred for future residential purposes. That's very similar to the other proposals to the south, and that's why we're saying that this is a unique site in that it doesn't really fit into the rest of the district structure plan area because it follows a similar negotiated process to the south of the site where there's been 3 other negotiated outcomes. It's quite unique in that case, in that it's a transitional land use.
With those negotiated outcomes, has there been discussion on who will manage that land?
Yeah, there has been discussion. Generally with Bush Forever and regional open space, it would be the DBCA, but until there's a final outcome, the commitment, until the amendment's been finalised. But there has been a lot of discussion also with the City of Cockburn. There's also been discussions with them in terms of the potential for this will form part of a large Bush Forever area that is co-located with the rest of it to the south. So it's a very significant area in an established urban environment, which is rapidly establishing to provide regional open space. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Brooke?
Just to, I guess, yeah, with the process, making sure that I understand. With the rationalisation of the Bush Forever boundary, is it, because there's going to be an EPA consideration at some point.
Yeah, so if the amendment's
and it's just whether, is it appropriate for us to indicate a rationalisation of that boundary prior to their consideration, or would it be more appropriate for us to wait until they've considered the site and agree, I mean, that boundary to be part of that consideration where it should be? That's the only bit that kind of. So
as part of this, there's also a deed. It's a draft deed that's been prepared.
Yeah.
The deed's not been signed by the Commission yet because this is subject to the EPA considering the amendment. So we've already had preliminary discussions at length with the EPA, with DWER EPA services and also DBCA. Our Bush Forever team has also had discussions. We've had multiple discussions with the team, so they seem to be pretty comfortable with it. The other proposals have been run that similar process. There's no formal way to put it in front of the EPA without an amendment being initiated by the Commission. Unfortunately, there's no other real way around that. So we have to, I guess, test the system, but we've already done a lot of preliminary discussions up front. So we hope that there won't be any other changes. However, the EPA may request modifications, which we would then bring the amendment back to the Commission. So there's a loop back, and that's why I said the deed remains as a draft only. We'll only get that finalised at the final approval stage, so that everything aligns with all the environmental approval for the MRS amendment.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I just want to confirm, obviously, further to the previous item, that as a Bush Forever site, it will be transferred to the WAPC as an initial. Has there been liaison with property services, at least? Because I'm assuming that there will need to be some level of site management until we get the DCA to potentially take on it as part of a broader precinct.
With the chair, yes, there has been. We've got a letter of confirmation in terms of the transfer of the realigned Bush Forever area, and that's been provided to our team, and they've been involved in that process as well. Yep.
Thank you. As further to that, having been involved in a few of the negotiate planning solutions in Southern River, are there many more of them to go? Like I'm assuming that most of them are now.
I think there might be a few more to go. I mean, they're all very unique and they can be very difficult to deal with as well. Because there's no
Uniquely.
Yeah. There are a number, I think, still outstanding. But where there's an opportunity through the MRS process, we tend to do this as soon as possible.
I think this is a good outcome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions before we go to the confidential information? Okay, thank you. Then I will just need to move and seconder that we go behind closed doors to consider the confidential information in the report, moved by Commissioner Adair, seconded by Commissioner Brooks. Is there any dissent? Thank you. That has been carried.
Okay, Tristan, can we please stop our audio and video?
you for rejoining us. The Commission has just had a break and gone into confidential session to consider some confidential attachments and information as part of item 3.3. We're now ready to consider the item. So we are dealing with item 3.3, MRS amendment for Jandakot Road in Treeby, approval to advertise. And I would like to request a mover and seconder for the officer recommendation. Thank you. That's moved by Commissioner Sandry and seconded by Commissioner Heron. Do you wish to speak to the item, Commissioner Sandry?
I think we've gone through the questions that we've had to have as a board, and thank you to the department and the applicant for providing the responses. This is going out for initiation and therefore advertising. We'll see what comes back through that process.
Thank you. Commissioner Heron?
Only to add, I think that the outcome from the point of view of the negotiated planning solution is a positive one, although would be much preferred once we have arranged final land management arrangements in place. But that's to be managed down the track.
Thank you. Commissioners, any further comment? Commissioner Hall?
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
In the report, it just mentions that the site's currently a P2 area under our state planning policy, and that is justification to go to P3. Can I just clarify if that will continue if it goes to urban deferred?
Yeah, through the chair. So if the amendment gets finalised to urban deferred, then there'll be a change to the urban component to P3 star to reflect the new category of the water protection area.
Still have
it'll still have a significance in terms of the extraction of water and the requirements in terms of appropriate land uses that need to be located in that area to have regard to the underground water.
Planning framework will still have a groundwater protection element to it. Thank you. No further comments from me.
Any further comments? Any dissent to the recommendation? Thank you very much. That is carried. The remaining items that we have on our agenda today are confidential. So I will now the mover and seconder that we go behind. Thank you very much. Moved by Commissioner Heron, seconded by Commissioner Hall. Is there any dissent? Thank you. That is carried.